All right, so one of the tricks we all run into when we're looking at home exercises is figuring out where we should anchor bands, depending on the movement, depending on the angle, what we're trying to achieve. So if you have sturdy furniture, if you have a post somewhere and you can wrap a band around it and you know it's nice and safe, by all means feel free to do so. Big key is, number one, always check your bands, make sure there aren't any small tears in them. And then number two, make sure whatever you are anchoring to is not going to end up on you as you go through the exercise. Some of the movements like rows, you're going to need something that's awfully stable. So we always have our go-to, which is going to be a door. So a door with a door handle, that gives us an opportunity to do anything where we'd set up a cable at about this height. Now, one of the big keys is make sure you go around both sides of the door handle or the doorknob. So I'm not going to just loop it around one side to do my exercises. I'm going to take and loop it around both so that I've got a nice symmetrical force on that doorknob instead of simply pulling on one side. So far, nobody's ever told me that they did get hit with the doorknob, but I don't need you to be the first one to tell me that it is possible. So make sure you go around both sides. It doesn't matter if you're using regular tubing or something like your super band. You can still go around both sides of it. Now, you either want to position the door so that you are pulling directly away from the hinges. That way the door is not going to swing all over the place, or you can brace the door with some shims, something on each side to make sure it stays put. We're not going to do a lot of side-to-side movement, so we're not really worried about that. Just make sure your pull is always directly off of the hinges. Now, anything you would do here, so when we think about stuff like a basic row, one-arm rows, we can get into press out, all of our variations as far as foot position. So that's going to be a great thing with the doorknob. Now, if we're going with something like a lift pattern, low to high, we do need your anchor point to be below the hip. So for me, this isn't going to quite work. So all I would do is simply find something to stand up on. Booster chair, yes. So for me, I would just use yoga blocks. I keep yoga blocks at home all the time. So I'm going to stand on a couple of yoga blocks, and that gives me low to high. Doesn't have to be a steep angle, but if it's a lift pattern, R lift, all of those things, we do need to have a little bit of a low angle moving up towards a high angle. Now, if we need the opposite, high to low, rather than going over the top of the door, because that angle always concerns me that the band's going to come flying off, I'm going to simply drop down into tall kneeling, or I could go into half kneeling. So from here, I've now created that angle from the doorknob coming down, so I can go through my chop patterns, still do my press outs, anything I want where I've got the cable coming down. Now, one thing I do use going over the top, if I'm going to throw some arm exercises in, I may do this for triceps, where I go directly over the top. Now your key is make sure you are pulling straight down. What you don't want to do is have an angle, and next thing you know, it comes flying off on you. Now, for you guys, because we're not really worried about arm exercises, I'm thinking more, we don't have the ability to do a pull up, we don't have a machine for a lat pull down, this can be a good substitution. So from here, working on driving the shoulder blades down. I would not use it on something like the lat sweep, straight arms coming through, simply because of that angle. So if I was going to do that, I would either just know that my range of motion is a little bit shorter, or you can always go into tall kneeling and then go through something like the lat sweep. So doorknobs are going to be great. Nice place to hook everything up. Remember, if you're going to go up top, keep that force straight up and down. Doorknob, go through both sides of it, and then you can do all of your pulling exercises, go down into a lower position if you need a high to low angle.